Good day everyone, and welcome back to the channel. And today we're going to be doing a customization. We're going to be taking a Spyderco Manix 2 and we're going to be customizing it with some original goat scales. So the scales I ended up choosing were the aluminum ones, and this is their expanded milled pattern. And the finish I chose was the stoned ceramic coated version. This is essentially what you get in the kit, aside from, of course, no knife. I didn't get the cool yellow bag that other people get or have seen in other videos, which is neither here nor there. They came very well packaged. This is essentially what you get. You get a OG sticker, you get an information card, kind of pause and read that if you like, and of course the scales and some hardware. So if you're not familiar with the Manix scales particularly, these are a liner delete. So when you take your Manix 2 apart, they will not carry the liners over. This is a clamshell design that does not require the liners to be assembled, nor for rigidity. And another thing with the scales is that these are a lanyard tube delete. So they are a liner delete and a lanyard tube delete. So what they do to secure the back of the Manix 2, because of course with the standard version you have the lanyard tube that helps pin the back of the handle together. They send along extra screws, 2 longer ones and 1 short one. And they are a silver or black finish depending on the finish of the screws on the Manix that you're using. You got a couple longer ones that they put these brass or metal catches in the back of the handle, and 2 of the longer screws go along the spine to help secure the back together, and then the shorter one goes in the bottom portion here so that when you close your blade, it will not come into contact with the screws. So it eliminates the liners and eliminates the lanyard tube, which when you're putting this back together will make it significantly easier to do. You can see, of course, in the back here some of the milling that they have done. This marking stands for aluminum, and of course you have original goat, and then of course these are also made in the USA. These are a lot lighter. I know other people who have made videos have said how light they are. They are definitely light. That can be good or bad depending on who you are. I do like a knife that is heavier, which is my preference. So it'll just be interesting to see, you know, the difference between the standard Manix, which I believe comes in at like at least, the G10 Manix comes in at around like 4.5 ounces. So it'll be interesting to see how much lighter it's going to feel once the new scales are put together. The example that we're going to be using today is the somewhat newly available Manix 2 in the Spy27 blade steel and their cobalt blue G10. And I'm pretty excited to try out some original goat aluminum scales and to kind of switch this up a bit. All right, for this disassembly and reassembly video, I'm going to be doing everything on camera. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be fast forwarding some parts. I have some pretty high hopes with the original goat scales, based on other videos that have seen, and some reading that I've done. I'm expecting the precision and yeah, the fit and finish to be pretty high once we carry over all the internals and the blade from the Manix G10 over to these aluminum scales. So let's get started. I'll just put these up here for now. I have my handy hardware magnetic tray so things don't go flying all over the place. We'll just kind of put that off to the side there and put that blade away so we don't injure myself. And we'll just start with the pocket clip so that we have a nice flat surface to work on when this side is facing down. And let's see, what do we got here for the pocket clip screws? They are T8. Body screws, T8. Pivot screw, T8. So that is definitely nice to see. Some of the aftermarket clips, depending on the kind that you get, don't necessarily like how they look when at the mounting point, because sometimes they tend to stick over the top and it kind of just disrupts the flow and the look of the knife. Personal preference thing, but all right, so let's just go ahead and continue disassembling the pocket clip side. And generally I like to keep the hardware, maybe most of us do, keep the hardware from one side and reuse it on the same side. All right, that is definitely challenging to take apart. That is not breaking free very easily. Okay, that one broke loose. All right, so because we're not removing the scales or the liners, I'm going to be able to lift up the scale in order to remove the components. So I'm gonna just break free some of the hardware on this side first before I do that, because that'll just allow me to take the internals out as well right away. And we're just gonna, okay, this one came loose right away. So I probably should have had the blade out just to help relieve some tension. Never mind. Okay, was not expecting this to come apart how it has. All right, so there's the back piece for the Manix. Just put that over there. Yeah, there's a spring in there. I want to make sure that that doesn't go missing. There's the other screw from this side. I guess this is what happens when you decide to take both sides apart without leaving anything in there to secure your components. It's actually the first time I've done that, so lesson learned there. Oh, all right, so there goes the ball bearing. And what else is just gonna come out of here on me? Maybe that spring in the middle will. It sure did. All right, so this is more an unconventional way to do it. Again, most guys are gonna take apart hardware on one side, separate this part. And for some reason today, I thought it would be a good idea, and I'm not so sure it was such a great idea. We'll just take our time with everything. All right, there's a blade. And we're just gonna rotate this over like I'd mentioned. And there is the ball cage. So we got the ball bearing, the spring, the ball cage. We'll just tuck that in there for now. We're gonna have that other phosphor bronze washer right there. So we just need to separate the pivot assembly from the scale, and then we can continue on with assembly from there. All right, there we go. And we were gonna start with the left side, and let's get the screws. All right, one thing I noticed is that on the main pivot for the Manix 2, there is a spot that is flat and keyed right there. And the original goat scales, the show side, is also keyed as well to prevent that pivot from twisting, just like the steel liners on the stock scales. So that will help you orientate your pivot assembly so that it's all squared up. So basically, I'm going to then start by working on the show side, because that'll just help lock everything together once I get the blade put in place. All right, that's locked in there. Don't want to go too crazy. I do want to leave a little bit of adjustability as I assemble things. All right, so I usually put the blade in first, and then I work on putting the ball bearing lock mechanism in there after the fact, just because it helps square everything up and make sure my washer is on. Interesting. Oh, not bad. I forgot that the washer needs to go on first. Okay. Fantastic. All right, so I'll just move this washer out of the way, and this will seat nicely then. And you can see it's flush with the scale right there. Perfection. I'm just gonna drop this other bronze washer right there, just less things to lose. Pardon me bumping the camera all over the place. Okay, let's get this into place. Let's use one screw to loosely attach it so that there is some structure to work with. All right, I just want to have a little bit of movement in there so I can work with everything. And part of the reason why I'm putting this bronze washer on there now is because too many times you put this knife back together and pieces go MIA and you forget about them because you're advancing in your assembly and you're excited. It's just easy to forget things. All right. And the spring, and we will see how this goes. Hopefully nice and smooth. Sorry if I'm focusing, having trouble talking and working at the same time. So this might be a fast forward section depending on how successful I am making things together here. We shall see. Everything is magnetized and sticking together. That is interesting. You know what? I might have to take the blade off just to give myself a little bit of clearance, which is fine. Make sure my ball bearing is actually in there. That would be super important. Okay. Compress the spring. Ooh, Oh, that was almost a catastrophic explosion. All right. Kind of want that to help lock that in. I'll loosely put this other screw back into place. All right, so that is good. And let's get this in place. Give myself some room, hopefully. Press this without everything flying apart on me, because it's kind of wanting to. Let's see. Okay. Looks all right. Bronze washer. Let's get that going next. Excellent. And we'll fit this over top. Should be nice and smooth. All right, so even with this on there, this other scale, you can see that the tolerances are pretty tight, which is wonderful to see. We will start with a pivot. And now I'm second guessing that I have that bronze washer on there. You saw it. Okay, there we go. Get a couple of these screws in. Again, we're just getting them threaded in, but we're not cinching anything down just yet. Making sure that there is a little bit of wiggle room as we put this together. All right, so here's an early look. I will be wiping down the blade, but that it does look super beautiful. Okay, I'm gonna guess these screws here are gonna be T6 because they are a lot smaller than the screws that came off the Manix originally. Really? I think they're T8. Oh, they are T8. Nice one, OG. Appreciate that. So again, the two longer screws are going to go along the spine, top spine of the handle, and they do recommend that you not cinch them down too terribly tight, because even though there's probably steel inserts embedded into the aluminum, you just want to really be careful not to pull anything apart, because the steel of the screws are a lot stronger than the aluminum that they're working with. All right, you can see that they're completely hidden. And then the last screw, the extra screw included, not the extra, the third one, will stay hidden within the wall of the scale. And when you go to the Original Go website and you're picking your handle scales and you have a choice of left or right tip up carry, I do believe that there's not, you can't have holes for the pocket clip on both sides, because then they won't have anything to grab onto. If you try and do left or right hand carry, so it can only be left or right, if that made any sense at all. All right, just gonna wipe the blade off, so just bear with me. So fingerprinty. All right, so there you have it. That looks not too bad at all. Spy27, nothing cinched up. I don't know if we can see. Oh yeah, centering's way off. Everything's loose. Just want to make sure that it functions, and function it does. All right, so I usually work my way back, forward, and just step by step. I mean, tightening one side is going to pull the other side in, making it tighter on its own already, but now it feels weight-wise like a lightweight. Just gonna wipe that little bit of blade off again, but it feels very, very solid, like a lot of strength there. So that is cool. All right, so even by just tightening the body screws, you can see that the blade moved a little bit center on its own. And playing with these pivot screws is going to be an interesting balance. This one on pocket clip side has a bit of ways to go before I feel like it's cinched down all right. Hopefully tightening this one up will pull it back center, and it does. That is pretty close, and it is better than how it came originally. How tight is it? That has a nice little thwack to it. I'm just going to check the blade play. Just need a cloth here. A little bit of wiggle, and I know that one of the screws is pivot screws a little bit loose. And which one is it? I think it's the other side, pocket clip side. Could use a little cinching, but the centering is pretty decent. The light is a little bit imbalanced here, as you can see with the shadows on the table, but I am pretty happy with that. Well, there we are. Spyderco Manix 2, Spy27, originally in that cobalt blue G10, and now converted over to the expanded original goat aluminum scales in the stoned ceramic coated finish. And everything is pretty well, perfectly seamless. You cannot feel that seam just by rubbing your finger across it. And then nice that there's some jimping on the back for when you have the knife in your hand and you're closing it. And impressive that it's nearly drop shut. Very little effort and excellent acoustics. Exactly as I had expected and had heard and seen from other guys doing videos on their scale swap. And I am impressed. This looks wonderful. Based on the fit and finish and the ease of reassembly and how nice these look and the acoustics and how comfortable and solid everything feels, I would give this a recommend. Original goat scales recommend for sure. You do have to cinch these down a little bit. Just going finger tight, like fingertip tight. Yep, pretty nice. Fairly impressed. Good looking, solid, high tolerances. Pretty impressed. All right, we'll bring up my other two Manixes. These are the other two I have in my collection. Manix XL and S30V. that Lynch deep carry clip, and then my baby, my Kukarta Manix XL with that brass ball cage, and then that bronzed Lynch deep carry clip as well. And now just that beautiful Manix 2 with the expanded OG scales. Looking pretty good. That's it, guys. Appreciate you joining me. Hopefully you learned something or were entertained somehow and can take that information into your next build. Appreciate your time, and we will see you in the next one.